Hello, my name is Daniel Johnson. I am the Practical Taoist. I am a writer and a Taoist master. And today I am going to be doing episode 3 of the Practical Taoist. This episode I will talk about what I like to call living together in the COVID-19 era. Check out genesis2112.com, my writing. If I have any vices left or any indulgences left, then it's writing. And a writer likes to be read, so you can go ahead and read that. All right, some of it's nonfiction, and some of it is fiction. All right, science fiction and speculative fiction. So a lot of you have been living together for a long time, or longer than usual, getting very close and very intimate. And if you have been having lively discussions, spirited debates, possibly melancholy arguments, then good. That means you still care about each other. All right? It's when people don't talk to you and when they smile and avoid you that you know you're in trouble. All right? Living together so closely, even when you love the person, especially when you love the person, always brings out the best and the worst. All right? It allows you to find out about that person. And the usual phrase that I often hear when people get in arguments, well, that guy has changed, she's changed, they've changed. Well, they haven't changed. Your perception of them has probably changed. You have gotten to know them better. All right? And really falling in love with people and really getting to know people. All right? The superficial stuff in relationships, in the beginning, people generally get involved in a relationship because they want something out of the person, or they have this image of what the relationship is going to be. All right? That's some of that is based on what they experience, but a lot of it is based on their interpretation of what's going on, or their wish, or their dream or vision of what's going on. All right? And as you live with a person for a longer periods of time, then a lot of that stuff, those myths get dispelled. And some of that is painful, and some of that is unpleasant, but you actually get to understand and see the person as they really are. And that's when the real beauty and the real love comes out. All right? I always say, when you're living with someone, it's the best form of self-study. It's the best form of Zen. You find out about yourself through the other person. Not by what they tell you, but through the interchange, through how they tell you things generally. All right? And disagreements and difficulties, spirited debates are all part of the process. All right? It's all a way of forcing you to see the person in another way, to adopt a different perspective. All right? When you get into what I call spirited debates, or when you get into interchanges between people, interactions, fights, whatever you want to call them, try and get out of the realm of debate. All right? When you are with a person and you have a discussion, a lot of people tend to turn to a debate, and the debate generally turns into an argument, or has the potential of turning into an argument. What's the difference between a discussion and a debate? Well, in a debate, you have an agenda, and you're trying to prove that person and bring that your point of view across and win the argument. That's a debate. All right? In a discussion, you're more open-ended. In a discussion, you're trying to reach a resolution together. All right? Discussions are more difficult because you have to open yourself up and you have to listen to the other person and consider what they have to say. All right? In terms of perception, you have a better chance of seeing the world if you can adopt it, or seeing the world more clearly if you can adopt different perspectives. All right? The other person, no matter what their viewpoint is, no matter how flawed you think it is, it's a completely different perspective. All right? That's why living together with someone, especially if they differ from you, is a good thing, because it forces you to see things in a completely different way. And it may not always be empirical or logical. In fact, usually it isn't logical, because logic isn't what drives life. Logic is a tool that we use to move through life. And in relationships, it's the same thing. In relationships, and in discussions that you're no doubt have had or are going to have in this time, this what I call a rare opportunity, a chance for you to really interact and get closer to the people you really care about. During this time, you really have the opportunity to lay all that bare, but it takes courage, it takes honesty, it takes determination, because you have to be ready to look at yourself, and you have to be ready to go into a discussion or an interchange with a person unbiased, without an objective. And it's difficult because what typically happens when people are together for long periods of time, they get on each other's nerves, and it's a little thing that comes up. It can be something as stupid as you just don't like the way that the person is sitting in that chair, or you don't like the way that they wipe the dishes or whatever, things like that. And you have your own set way of doing it. There's very good reasons why you figured that out. You've lived with it your whole life, and it's always worked. Here comes someone that's doing something completely different, and you have to stop for a second, and you got to say, well, the first impulse is, okay, well, he's doing it wrong, so I'm going to show him how to do it. She's doing it wrong, so I'm going to show her how to do it. It's very difficult just to listen and watch the other person and cringe as you see them do it the way that you know is the wrong way, but they're still doing it. And then to ask them why they're doing it that way, and to find out. And maybe there's a good reason. Maybe their perspective is different. And together you arrive at a better solution, or a more combined solution, better perspective on how to do things. And you both grow and discover. Underneath all of it, you are learning to respect each other, and you are learning to grow with each other. So this thing, what is that song? By CSN, we are one person, we are two together, we are three in love. You become this other entity. You're the combined. So, my father used to always say, the easiest way to break up with someone is to take them on a boat with you. I guess he's talking from personal experience. He had a sailboat, and in a sailboat, he said, when you get into an argument with someone, there's absolutely nowhere to go. So you're stuck with them. The boat is very small, and you have to deal with whatever's going on. And not everybody, I guess not everybody in life has the desire to deal with things the way that I do. There's a line in the movie Gandhi, the whole movie Gandhi, where the woman says, his wife says, life is hard. It's hard. It's even hard for those of us who don't want to be half as good as you. So, yeah, life is a challenge. Nobody tells you need to be a saint to be a perfect person, or even deal with the person who you're with. That really comes down to your choice. But in any relationship, no matter if it's your soulmate or the perfect person or the worst combination possible, you're going to have disagreements. You have disagreements with yourself. Sometimes you feel good, sometimes you feel sick. Sometimes your mind is clear, sometimes it's confused. All right? So you have disagreements inside of yourself. How much more are you going to have disagreements with the other person who's not yourself? Good point is, and the good part, is that as many disagreements as you have, and as many bad times as you're going to have, it all needs to balance out. Basic Taoism needs to balance out, so there also will be that amount of good times. All right? And the way that it works in the science of life, the science of Taoism, is when you overcome something, then there's always a gain. There's always a strong gain. That's within yourself, and that's in interactions in life. All right? You go through a big challenge in life, and you go through a whole bunch of learning, and you overcome it. And then comes the good part, when you get to leverage off of your experience, and you get to leverage off of the triumph of having achieved what you wanted to achieve. Same thing in a relationship. You go through these difficult times in your relationship, and you work it out, and then afterwards comes the great time where you get together and you reach a new level of communication and a new level, spiritual level together, and it's exhilarating. That's when you start to see the person, the real person, and not the person that you thought you married or hoped that you married, all right? Or the person that you thought you knew or hoped that you knew. But you see the actual reality. And reality is always more powerful than any construct in the mind. And it's very fulfilling. But in order to get the fulfilling part, we live in reality. And reality is this continuum. As happy as you are, you're going to have that much pain. That's the way that things work. All right? So no, don't run away and avoid conflict. Conflict is going to happen, and that's going to be part of what makes you stronger as people. I think the most important thing, or I know the most important thing to remember in every case, is that you both are not on different sides. You are on the same team. You are fighting the same battle. You are both here stuck in this environment, in this situation, and you have your own way of doing it, but you both have the same goal. And when you remember that, when you have disagreements, and when the disagreement and the misunderstanding turns into some form of anger, and it's easy to diffuse it, or it's helpful to diffuse it by remembering that, you know something, we're all on the same side here. I was listening to this interview just recently about this African American woman. She was talking about some advice her father gave her. She said, you know, what my father told me was, when there's this hate directed towards me, then I look at the person in the eye, and then they have to see me as a person. Well, yeah, you are both people, and you both have your own perspective. It's different, but you have your own perspective, and you're heading towards the same goal. So when it gets to that point, diffuse it, breathe and relax, say something nice, something completely off the cuff, and take it back to the moment, what's going on right now. In the moment, you love each other. Remember where you are, and you don't need to force yourself to do it. You just take a moment and breathe and center. I talk about centering a lot in a lot of my other videos, because centering really allows you to get in touch with what's going on right in this moment. A lot of us tend to live in our heads, and we create these walls and these abstractions, some real, but most of them illusionary, that get in the way of what's going on. This is Daniel from the Practical Taoist. Okay, if you want to find out more about me, go to the link, all right, and do subscribe. It will help the show, and then it will notify you of what's coming on, what are the new episodes that are coming up. Go to my channel, or to my website, Genesis2112.com, Genesis2112.com. All of my writings are there. You can also find them on Kindle, iBooks, and Barnes & Noble by searching Sue Lee, Daniel Johnson. And then also on the Genesis2112.com, there's a whole bunch of free courses if you're interested in meditation or doing breathing or Tai Chi or moving meditation. I have a whole bunch of courses, and they're full courses, and they're all completely free with no commitment. Why do I do that? Because I want you to learn how to meditate. The first step is learning to be mindful and how to meditate. And that sounds like an easy step, and yes, it is pretty easy. The challenge is maintaining it and taking it somewhere, integrating it into your life. And we are at the cusp of that in society. In the old days, 20 or 30 years ago, when I used to teach this stuff, people thought I was weird. Now it's become almost mainstream. All right? And people are starting to see that there is something really here, there's a benefit here. It's difficult to wrap your arms around it because it's so fundamental and so simple. All right? Learning the technique is not difficult. Learning how to meditate, learning how to breathe, learning how to breathe, a simple breathing technique, you can learn it in 5 minutes. All right? And if you're not interested in learning it from my site, then you can go to a lot of other sites online. I can't vouch for them unless I've seen them, but most of the techniques are pretty simple and easy to learn.